What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Investing Bros 3 p.m. live show, and we've got a doozy of a show lined up for you because despite the fact that prices are a little bit in the red today, they're a little bit down, there's a whole lot of factual reasons why you should be bullish. We're going to be talking about some coins that not only are the institutions looking at right now, digging in their greedy little hands into, but also we're joined by Caleb Franson, who has a list of coins that he's observing are dramatically oversold right now and could be amazing pickups. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more, but stick around for the entire episode. With that said, let's roll that intro. How'd it do? Gentlemen, how are you guys feeling today? Caleb, I'm going to start with you. How you feeling? You're so good that we can't even hear you.
Muted.
He's mute.
Rookie mistake. I apologize, guys. Look, I'm doing very well. No complaints. Always glad to be here on a Wednesday. Sorry for the hiccup there. Ready to rock and roll.
Awesome. Good to have you here. T-Shroom, how you feeling today, man?
Oh, I'm more giggly than I deserve, Tim. We're starting off the stream strong with some humor, with some vibes. I love it.
Very, very
always
cool.
With the vibes. Always with the vibes.
And I'm getting married this weekend. BROZ. It is going to be crazy. Yeah, I've got the rehearsal dinner Friday night and then getting married, headed to the chapel, and taking myself off the market. I think it's time to
burning the towel.
That's right. I think
listen, ladies, you have what is that? 72 hours or so, give or take some 72 hours and change.
Yep.
To change his mind.
It's going to be tough to beat the dowry that I've been offered, though.
It's true. It's true. The kingdom that is coming your way. Well, let's get into some crypto talk here. By the way, shout out to everybody in chat. Thank you so much for choosing the Bros on your Wednesday afternoon. You're in for a treat because it's Caleb Franson Wednesdays.
That's right.
Cannot wait to get in there. A little bit of dealing with house stuff real quick. Shout out to everyone here from Josh's channel. I was on with Stocks with Josh last night. Phenomenal stream. So glad you're here. But I have a poll in chat right now. I want you guys to vote and be honest with how you do it because I think there's a chance that what we might end up doing with TA, sometimes I get a little bit into the weeds. T-Stream, would you classify my TA sometimes as getting into the weeds?
I think sometimes you get more into the weeds than you deserve, Tim.
And sometimes getting into the weeds is a good thing, but not all the time. So there's a chance that moving forward, we might be a lot more brief and specific with the technical analysis on the live shows. Saturdays will go nuts. So definitely want to watch Saturday shows, but I want to push you guys. I'm going to be able to, maybe with members, for those who really want to get in, those of you who love the weeds. And right now, a good amount of you are saying you think the TA is perfect, love the deep details, but we're about to enter into a season where a lot of people will be tuning into crypto YouTube and they want to learn and they want to invest. And that's what we're here for, guys. We are here not just so Tim makes a lot of money or Caleb makes a lot of money or T-Shroom makes a lot of money. We want to all, as a community, grow. And if people don't understand what's happening on the charts, then they're not going to grow. So what we might do is a lot more education with members and on the shows, just kind of show the bullet point support, resistance, big movements. Let me know what you guys think about that concept moving forward. I'm interested in going that direction. But with that said, let's dive into the details. Let's start off. Before we go too deep, I have a big question for Caleb. Let's take a look at the bubbles here, T-Shroom.
Oh, wow.
We got one really big bubble, Brett. Caleb, are you holding Brett right now?
I've actually leveraged my entire house and net worth on Brett. So, today's been a great day for me personally in the portfolio and the net worth. I'm totally kidding. What isn't this like Pepe's friend or something like that? Like that's what people are saying.
Know. What is the lore? What is the Brett lore? I don't know.
Dude, it's over my head. But yeah, memes are in. Memes are still in. It's the meta.
Yeah, now some of them are down. Pepe, we're looking at, it's the brother. Well, today the little brother is beating the crap out of the big brother because he's red here. Bonk, is this the cousin? I don't know. Down 9%. Floki down 7.6. So a lot of other big meme coins are down, but Brett really big. This is going to be one that's debatable. I want to talk about it today a little bit. Sheeb Is SHIB a meme coin? Is SHIB a meme coin, or should we give it some respect? Because they are building things. I don't know what they call their community at the moment.
Tim, I don't like what you're applying. You saying that meme coins shouldn't have respect?
We're going to move on to the next topic of the show. Caleb, let's start off with some really simple stuff. Bitcoin. I don't want to show my chart today. I want to show your chart. Bitcoin, it's flirting with a level of support on my chart. There's some people, even in our VIP trading group, we're kind of sitting there debating, should we be looking at a lower level to buy into Bitcoin, maybe somewhere 65,000, maybe down below 62,000. But there's also a lot of room to the upside. What is your take right now on Bitcoin's price? Are you buying these levels? Are you waiting on them? What are your thoughts about Bitcoin in the next couple of days and weeks?
Yeah, so let's just kind of start qualitatively. I was really happy to be buying even sub 60K and into like the 63, 64,000 range. Basically, since then, I'm pretty sure I've just kind of sat on my hands. If I have added any exposure, it's been marginal. Yeah. And now that we've had this pullback, I'm not going to lie. Today, I've been very tempted to increase exposure. I've kind of sat on my hands, though. I haven't taken any nibbles there. We can go over my chart as to why that's the case. I think that it's hard for me to say right here, right now, that the local lows are in and we're going to rip back to 72, 73,000 from here. Is it possible? Okay. Yes, I'm prepared for that scenario 100%. I'm happy with my current levels of exposure. Let's go over the chart, though. T-Shroom, do you have my screen?
I absolutely do. Look at that. Oh, with Timless, though. We got to add Tim here, too, as well.
Awesome. So, look, I want to focus on one level specifically. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken the anchored volume-weighted average price from the all-time high, right? And so the way I like to do this is I do two AVWAPs. If I'm doing it from the high, I like to do one with the source of the high, and then I'll duplicate that, but I'll change the source to open, high, low, close over 4. And this really kind of gives us a band of resistance. So you could see it wasn't perfect throughout this range, but we weren't able to materially sustain above the AVWAP during those periods, flipped it into resistance. We were making lower lows on each of those failed attempts. Now we've been able to break above that range now, and we're coming in. And look, I think this right here is where bulls really need to defend structure, right? It's that classic phrase in technical analysis. We want to flip former resistance into support, right? Mm-hmm. And so the thing that I don't want to say that I'm wary of, but the thing that I'm cautious of is if we cannot hold this level as support, if we cannot rebound on this zone, you'll also notice these local highs line up within the AVWAP range. So in my opinion, there's a lot of price memory here, because what this is telling us is that since the highs on March 14th, 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, right, that the average buyer, when we volume weight their purchase price, is still above water today. That's a great sign because we're below the all-time highs right now, right? But that's still telling us that the average buyer since the all-time highs is above water. They're in profit. If we cannot rebound on this zone, my baseline expectation is a minimal pullback once again into the $63,000 to $64,500 range. Why? Because that's the AVWAP from the local lows from the beginning of May, right? From May 1st. So if we can't hold this line, I see a little bit more downside. And look, I mean, at the end of the day, we're not talking about some massive decline if we can't hold this level, right? If we fall below the AVWAP range from the highs and we pull back into this pocket, we're talking about a 2.3% decline to a 4.7% decline. That's nothing in the grand scheme of things, right? So this is why for me, I'm not feeling super rushed to materially step in today. I think that you could make the case that this is a buying opportunity. Again, we have the opportunity to flip former resistance into support, but I just don't see the rush here necessarily, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense right there. And again, I think we're sitting on, depending on what you're looking at, there's a lot of, if you wanted to be bearish right now, I could construe the charts. I could take this, cherry pick this piece of information with this piece of information and propose a beautiful picture of why Bitcoin is going to be going down to the, I think the levels you're talking about, 60, I said 65, 61, 62-ish. You were somewhere in the 63, 64. You're in the middle of my two levels. But either way, there's an argument to be made that could be that could be justified. There's also a lot of support on different levels. If we could create a whole different scenario and only show you the bullish stuff and say, hey guys, we're going to go set a new all-time high here in the next week and a half. So I told the community the other day, I still think this is that you're kind of cautiously waiting for what's next. You're prepared for that bigger move to the upside or downside. What I will say, I'm not going to go deep into my TA here, but T-Shroom, just go to my screen. I want to show you guys breakouts coming on Bitcoin. Right now, we're kind of wrestling with the support level. The question is, do we go to the downside or do we go to the upside? I've talked about this before. I'm not going to go too much deeper. We're going to change topics. But that's what you need to be aware of is Bitcoin is in a could go up, could go down scenario. You don't necessarily have to be able to predict which one's right. You have to be ready for whichever one happens. Make sure your plan is put in place. Let's move on here. Before we get into some stories of what's going on, I'm interested on one more coin that I have been tracking. I'm actually actively in a trade. My VIP trading group knows what it is, but I want to get your opinion on it because it, of course, it's one of the top movers in the last couple of months, and it's only a couple of months old. And that would be Ondo. Yeah. Ondo is melting faces, setting new highs here recently. What is the Caleb Franzen take on Ondo? What are you doing with that right now?
Okay, really quick, before we cover Ondo, I have a great Ondo chart, by the way. But I noticed this right now while we were just going over this. Potential kind of head and shoulder setup here on Bitcoin. It's not perfect.
Okay,
but,
inverse, yeah.
That's legit, right? I mean, it's like I said, it's not perfect, but we don't want to let perfect be the enemy of good, right? That's one of my favorite sayings. My mom raised me with that phrase. And look, I think this is something that's potentially valid here. So it's worth noting. There's one other thing that I did want to cover, and then we'll go over to Ondo, is one of the key aspects that I'm really focused on right now is looking at the combined market cap of Bitcoin and Ethereum. We had this bull flag breakout, which I was actually outlining in real time back in this range. We had the breakout. We've been able to hold this as support now. Right. And so when I say okay, I'm mentally prepared for more downside, we could see that right side of that head and shoulders pattern form, At the same time, you're saying, Tim, I can come on here and say, look, we've broken above the bull flag. We're holding it as support. We're retesting it again. This is the low. We're going to rip higher and make new highs. Very possible. Right. So just kind of want to provide both sides here to that aspect. But you asked me about Ondo. Let's go over Ondo. I was on last week with T-Shroom. Tim, you weren't here, right? Were you here last week?
Last week I was on vacation. Yeah, so I wasn't here.
Okay. We talked about an Ondo setup, and the bull, my target got hit, right? Because my target essentially was this right here, getting to the 161.8% extension from the high to the low here. And so we hit that 161.8. So I'm not too surprised to see price cooling down here. And so once again, now that I'm seeing the structure, we hit the target. Just because we hit the target doesn't mean that we will continue to fall. Mm-hmm. But I think one thing's for sure here, we haven't had a real formal clean retest of that breakout zone. And so once again, this looks like it's setting up for one of those breakout retest rebound type setups. It doesn't look like a big fall because again, we're looking at this in logarithmic scale. If I flip this over to linear, it's going to look a little bit more dramatic, right? If we actually calculate what a decline would be to come into this blue pocket, we're talking about at least 10, 11% downside, potentially as much as 21% downside to retest the support range. So I'm not in Ondo. I wouldn't be rushing to get into this position right now. I think the take profit sign had been hit based on the initial breakout move. And so anything is fair game from here on out. But my base case expectation that I'd be looking for here is a retest basically of $1.05 to as low as 92 cents, 93 cents.
I like it. I have similar thoughts. I'm not going to go to the details because, again, we actually just this morning, the VIP trading group, we went into a trade, a short on Ondo. So we'll find confluence there. Not going to say the numbers, but we're on the same page here. I think small pullback for Ondo. Why, everybody? Why is Ondo going to pull back? Go back to Caleb's chart real quick. Let's just look at this, guys. Zoom out even. Go out, zoom out so we can see more candles. Just up and to the right, up and to the right, up and to the right. Big bullish candles there. You need to cool off, And a gun, I don't know if YouTube's going to get in trouble. But when you fire a gun, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but sometimes a gun can get too hot and you got to let it cool off You maybe need to clean it. That's not good. You can't keep firing rounds, but it's healthy for a gun to take a break and cool off. It's healthy for bullish assets like Ondo to cool off, come back down to levels. I love what Caleb put on there. Go back down to former levels of resistance, turn those levels into support. That I've given another analogy. Imagine this, guys. Imagine you run through a door, you run through someone's door, but the most bullish thing in the world is you come back and you slam that door in the next person's face, right? That is so bullish to retest former resistance levels and turn them to support. It is a smack in the face to every single bear out there telling them, you're done, bears. It's time for the bulls to take over. I think Ondo's doing something similar to that.
Yeah.
Ondo, I would agree. And sorry, go ahead, T-Shroom.
I was just going to say something really ridiculous. Ondo is the mounted minigun on the raft of crypto.
Yeah.
There you
go. Before we move on to the next topics, and we got some headlines here, and we're going to get into some of these details of the coins that institutions are buying. T-Shroom's going to break us into there. You guys, if you're enjoying the episode, make sure to smash the like button. But before we leave the topic of Ondo, gotta tantalize you guys a little bit. Tonight, 6 p.m., my 2025 price prediction for Ondo will be going out. You guys have been asking for that for a couple of weeks. Special shout out. I don't know if I see him in here today, but I told him live on air, T-Shroom, I got to connect you to make sure you get him paid. Dave Digital, I told him if he did the research and gave me the information I needed on tokenomics for Ondo so that I could make that video, that I'd give him $100. He did it. The information was phenomenal. You will see my price prediction for Ondo coming out tonight, 6 p.m. So make sure you take a look at that. With that said, though, T-Shroom, let's get into the first story we have here, and I'm interested to hear what Caleb thinks about it.
Absolutely. Well, today's news is brought to you all by the illustrious cold wallet supplier, Arculus. Arculus Cold Wallets is who we turn to for cold wallet solutions. It's going to be your best bet. Going into the first story here, Solana expands PYUSD to Solana blockchain, a huge win for one of the speediest chains that there is. Solana, it has me asking the question as a Cardano holder, where did Cardano drop the ball with this potential deal? Let's get into some of the details here. Solana's superior transaction speed and lower fees made it an attractive addition to PayPal. According to Solana FM, Solana can handle 1,423 transactions per second, TPS, significantly surpassing Ethereum's 12 to 15 TPS. This capability is crucial for retail transactions, which require a minimum of 1,000 TPS. Solana's speed and low transaction fees were key factors in our decision, says Jose Fernandez de Puente. He was a conquistador as well in a former life. PayPal's senior vice president of blockchain, cryptocurrency, and digital currency. So, kind of a straight cut down the middle headline here. Solana continues to win with the deals and with the TPS. I mean, even if this deal doesn't end up making all that much money for them, which I think it probably will, they just got a huge headline, a huge bump with a A-list brand like PayPal. How big of a win is this for Solana, and are more tiers going to be jerked out of Cardano holders' hands at this point? Or eyes, not hands. Tim, what do you
I was waiting for Caleb. Okay. I mean, listen, any partnership is big. When you're partnering with a company as large as PayPal, that's massive news for Solana. Even if we're not going to see the price, catapult here. I mean, we're not seeing Solana go parabolic. It's back up at 170. It's bullish on the day, which not every altcoin could say. But this is one of those stories, and I'll kind of say my opinion about this for almost the rest of what we're going to talk about. Again, I want to get details from Caleb, but I think we're in a season right now. Today, yesterday, this last week, really, we're not necessarily seeing the prices of cryptos going berserk. Chainlink's done some cool things. Some meme coins have done some cool things. But when you're looking at Bitcoin, Solana, you're looking at a lot of other projects, we have some articles and stories coming out that are very interesting. And I always tell people, when you're reading news on crypto, you got to make sure you sort things into their correct boxes, right? So an article is either bullish or bearish, right? So you separate them into their bullish and bearish boxes. But then within those boxes, you have to sort things between what's actual factual information that will have inherent value going forward and what is simply just a FOMO or FUD article that's opinionated to try to manipulate you as a retail investor into making an emotional decision. And what I've seen, T-Shroom, is over the last week, a whole lot of bullish, factual stories. BlackRock is buying their own Bitcoin ETF. That's not an opinion. That's factually very bullish. PayPal partnering under Solana. That's not an opinion. That's not some sort of FOMO article. That's a very bullish fundamental article. So even if price isn't exploding with fireworks, this is the kind of news that will lead to fireworks down the road. And that's my opinion. But Caleb, what do you think about that?
Look, I feel like this announcement was made with PayPal sometime in the second half of last year. I can't remember specifically. Maybe it was even the first half of last year. But I didn't even know that they were going to be doing this on Solana. And so I saw the headline this morning, actually, and I was like, damn, that's pretty interesting. I think Solana in a lot of ways gets a bad rap. And especially over the past 3 or 4 months has really kind of been characterized as being kind of the manufacturing of kind of the meme cycle, if you will, right? Because like we're saying, with so many transactions per second and such a low cost, right? Like buying meme coins on Solana is significantly cheaper than buying meme coins on Ethereum. And so if that barrier to entry is lower, people are going to be having higher demand there on the margin. So I think we've seen that. But look, I thought that this was really interesting, right? Because it's a step further towards, what's the word that I'm looking here? Not validation, but kind of, right? And look, I think the chart for Solana looks decent enough. And I took a position this morning at 168. So,
nice.
Wahoo, we're at 170, 78 right now.
Already in profit.
But yeah, I mean, just a tad. It's really like nothing. This could reverse just as easily as I've gotten in, right? But if you want to go to my chart here, though, there's something that I'm seeing, which is a potential change of character here from this consolidation off of the highs at 189, right? So we're clearly making these lower highs through this range, and we also made lower lows, right? But what we're starting to see is some constructive behavior. We are now making higher lows, and we are also making higher highs on a very short-term basis, right? This is a smaller constructive channel within a longer or a broader deteriorating trend of lower highs and lower lows. Nonetheless, like I said, this looks constructive. Has it shifted into outright bullishness? No, it is not. So I'm kind of front running a little bit. And I think, look, I'm taking this trade with the expectation that we can make a return back to the 188, 189 region. But I think if you're really going to kind of dream big here, what I'd be looking to do, draw a fib from the high to the low of this consolidation range, assuming that those are the lows, and target the 161.8, which basically gets us to 209. So with an entry where I got in today at 168, we're talking about 24% upside, and I'll take that every single day of the week, right? And essentially, I think for me, kind of my line in the sand here, my invalidation is if we fall below this range here, which is 164. So if we fall below, let me just make this blue so we have some different colors on here. If we fall below 164.75, I'm out of the trade, right? So I'll take a little bit on the chin. But I'd be definitely targeting take profit number 1 at the highs, and then take profit number 2 at the 161.8.
I like it. You're tuned into the Investing Bros, where we're looking at Solana. We're kind of chewing over this partnership that's come in with PayPal. Make sure that if you're getting value out of this video, out of this live stream, that you are considering subscribing and also going ahead and smashing the like button. It really helps us out to get the word out on crypto, and it really makes us feel good, and that helps a lot. Tim, did you have something to say here on Solana?
Yeah, well, I was just going to kind of point out, you're going to have to, imagine with me, some people are going to say this could be a rising channel, but a lot of things, especially on these, intermediate timeframes, like 4 hour, for example, we kind of keep butting into this area around 172. Yeah, we've bricked up a little bit above it, but it's not crazy to put a flat level of resistance right there. You also have, as Caleb mentioned, a rising level of support. This is what we would call an ascending triangle. More often than not, these do break to the upside, would give us a target range, probably somewhere up here on 180. What we need to do, though, is get over this 4 hour smart trail concept. But take a look there. Yeah, kind of like I said, smart trail concept still acting as resistance. That's horizontal resistance. But if that gets flipped, Look for a breakout to that first take profit level right around 179, 180 on Solana. I'll tell you this. You can go off my screen here, T-shirt. There's some bullish stuff on oscillators as well. But again, I don't want to get into the weeds today. Solana is something that is, if there's overwhelming bearish evidence, okay, yes, go ahead and enter a short. But I think I said this a couple of weeks ago. At the moment, and I'm not saying this necessarily, it is very braggadocious sounding, but it's actually, I'm not bragging myself, I'm bragging on the tools that I use. I am trading, my profitability on trading right now is sitting around 90%. All right. That's really good. I think it's because Luxog was that phenomenal. That's why we have that as our level to get into our VIP trading group, because I want you guys to be successful when you're trading just like I am. But want to know what drags that number down from being closer to 100%? The majority of the trades that I have lost have been shorts on Solana, because the charts will make sense. There'll be every reason to short Solana, and then something happens and it all flips and goes up. So I don't know if it's perfectly 90%. I'm not actually technically keeping track of that. It's very, I very rarely lose. And I tell you right now, if I would just stop shorting Solana, I probably could get closer to 100%. And so that's kind of my advice, people. Don't be too bearish on Solana. It is one of those melting faces coins.
Absolutely.
I think, it's sitting right now at number 4. If you remove stable coins, I've kind of gone on record here saying, guys, Solana more than likely will continue to be a number 3 or number 4 altcoin on coin market cap going forward in this bull market. I think the market cap we're looking at, some people call me crazy, but I have to explore the concept of, guys, we actually might see Solana push closer to, not quite crack it, but we might see Solana get close to that $1 trillion market cap. At this point, I'm still thinking 5 to 700 billion, but there are scenarios based off of how special Solana is in the fact that how much people love it and what they're partnering with. It's not a ludicrous statement to think that it might not be that far behind Ethereum. I think Ethereum is going to be 1.6 to $2 trillion in market cap. So I'm not talking about it flipping Ethereum by any means, but watch out for Solana this year, guys. Watch out. Yeah. It's the future we got to worry about.
Well, Tim's not the only one who has a claim to be braggadocious. Crux of Crypto said, we're restructuring the membership plans, but my call in Discord have a provable 50% ROI currently from the date of calls made. Crux has been killing it as well.
Yeah, Crux is awesome, yeah.
Big shout out to Crux. What was that, Caleb? I interrupted you.
I was piggybacking off Tim's comments there. Said Solana summer.
Yes. Yeah. And we're all getting a tan. I love it. Moving on into the next story here. New York Stock Exchange, maybe you've heard of it, plans Bitcoin options, bringing another TradFi giant into crypto. I learned something here that was interesting. We'll get to in just a second. As traditional institutions and everyday investors are demonstrating their wide-ranging enthusiasm for the recent approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs, the New York Stock Exchange is excited to announce its collaboration with CoinDesk Indices. New York Stock Exchange Chief Product Officer John Hendricks said in the statement, upon regulatory approval, these options contracts will offer investors across access to an important, liquid, and transparent risk management tool. And this is actually quite interesting because there's a lot of folks who are very wealthy who have been hesitant to buy Bitcoin because they like to go into big positions with insurance policies called put options that, for a lot of people, they just haven't been able to get their hands on put options on Bitcoin and Bitcoin exposure. So this could be big. Obviously, there's going to be, the conversation of, that's going to open up market manipulators to be able to come in. It's a good point. The New York Stock Exchange is owned by Intercontinental Exchange, which competes with CME Group, whose Bitcoin futures are widely held in the industry. New York Stock Exchange entrance into the game provides another TradFi-friendly on-ramp to crypto. So it just keeps on getting bullish. The bullish pressure just keeps on building. But Tim, yes. Is there something sinister going on? Is this the beginning of the end for Bitcoin now that options are going to be tradable on the New York Stock Exchange, or is it just getting started?
It's just getting started. This goes back to what I was just talking about a couple of minutes ago. The news that's very bullish that the price isn't triggering yet, but these are factual things. It's not an opinion. It's going to be traded on in real estate, in
New York Stock
Wall Street
Exchange.
or not. but it's something that will bring more people buying. Now, here's what I would say: if there was heavy amount of, there will be volatility. I'm trying to think how I want to phrase this. There will be volatility based off this news, but for there to be the volatility, these institutions will have to buy. And there's, even though institutions have already been buying Bitcoin, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that there's a very long way before you could make the argument that institutions are heavily, quote unquote, into Bitcoin. So for them to massively manipulate Bitcoin, they'd have to be heavily invested in Bitcoin first, which means I'm looking for volatility in the future, but that volatility still equals higher highs and higher lows up and to the right. And stories like this are the reasons why I think that's still going to happen.
I love it. Caleb, what do you think? Beginning of the end for Bitcoin here now that the options are going live?
No, not at all. I'm actually kind of surprised it's taken this long for the New York Stock Exchange to bring this on. Because we had the CME do that in 2017, right?
Right.
December 2000. That was basically the top of the market in the 2017, 16, 17 bull market cycle.
That's right.
So I'm surprised it's taken 6.5 years, if my mental math is correct, for us to get to this point. It's kind of bizarre, but better late than never, I guess, right? So, good for them.
Absolutely. I think the timing prop to me kind of suggests that maybe there was some regulatory clarity they were waiting for that may have become a little more clear last week. Always good to have the White House on your side. All right, moving on into the next story here. FET.ai, SingularityNet, Ocean Protocol, set date for Artificial Superintelligence Alliance token merger. ASI, a coin maybe that you've heard of. It doesn't actually exist yet, or does it? Let's find out. AI has captured the attention of the technology world for the last year and a half, with concerns aired that tech giants like Microsoft, Alphabet, and Meta will establish a hegemony over the sector. We wouldn't want that. Concentration of power.
Word. Hegemony.
Yeah. The three-way merger of the crypto tokens of artificial intelligence-focused protocols FET.ai, SingularityNet, and Ocean Protocol will complete on June 13th. So set your calendars for June 13th. As of June 11th, users will be able to swap FET for ASI with the native tokens of SingularityNet and Ocean Protocol following. Then the mergers completes 2 days later, the firms said on Wednesday in a press release. You can go read more here on superintelligence.io/artificial superintelligence. And that's where you can get a lot more information about that. But this is obviously bullish for these coins. But just how bullish is it? Do you think that these coins are going to be, outpacing Ethereum, outpacing Bitcoin anytime soon, or do we need to wait on another NVIDIA earnings? What gives here? Are these going to the moon, or are they going to stay here on Earth?
Okay,
I think. Go ahead. Yeah, Caleb, go ahead.
Two things on this. First of all, when this announcement was made, that was when these coins all peaked. So I think that's important to know. The second thing I wanted to mention is we just had astoundingly bullish results for NVIDIA's earnings, right? From a fundamental perspective, this company is cheaper than ever. Revenue is growing faster than the stock is up on a year-over-year basis. Net income is growing faster than the stock is up on a year-over-year basis. From a fundamental valuation perspective, NVIDIA hasn't been this cheap in quite some time. Yet the stock is up 3x over the course of the past year. Why didn't the crypto tokens see any bid to the upside as they have in all of the past several quarters during this bull market cycle? We did not get that participation from crypto AI tokens. I thought that was very disappointing, right? Fundamentally, there's kind of a phrase or a saying, I should say, amongst technicians that when something does not react positively to fundamentally bullish news, that's not really a good sign, right? We want to see the market follow through because, again, the market is a forward-looking pricing mechanism. So if news is coming out about the past or about potential implications about the future, and the market is not reacting positively to that new information, something's not quite right. So, no, I'm not sure what happened there. I think a lot of these AI tokens, in my opinion, continue to look much stronger from a relative strength perspective than pretty much everything else, maybe except for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And now we just need to see the follow through. We need to see a resumption of the trend back to the upside. And I was really hoping last week that the NVIDIA earnings were going to be that catalyst for these things to move back higher. We just didn't get the follow through. So I'm not sure exactly what the situation is there. It's very interesting to me. I'd be curious to know what Tim has to say, though.
Well, let me jump in, Tim. I think just because I want to respond to that one point, but I mostly just don't want the bros to hear what Tim has to say. No, but I think that my thinking was, because I was watching those NVIDIA earnings like a hawk as well. And in a moment, I was looking at the lackluster results from AGIX, from FET, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder if this has to do with the Ethereum ETF, because the whole market was kind of holding their breath to see what was going to happen, and maybe there was a lot of reluctance and liquidity stayed on the sidelines. Because the NVIDIA earnings was, I think it was a day or two before that ETF decision was made. So it could have been that. But then the question is, well, why didn't it get bought when the ETF was flicked on? And then that kind of leads you to because the S1s aren't approved. But I think it does not answer the overall question, which is, if NVIDIA is pumping, why aren't these AI coins pumping? I think honestly, the smoking gun is meme coins. Meme coins just seem to be stealing the show. And getting all of the liquidity that otherwise these higher value utility coins would be getting. That's one angle. Part of me though is like, well, that doesn't seem to answer all of it. I think it answers some of it. Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say my only thoughts as to why I'm still bullish here, because Caleb brings up a very good point about around the time this news came out, AGIX peaked, FET peaked, Ocean peaked. Yeah, but it does take me back to looking at charts, though, and finding, is there any other reason? So if you share my screen here, I'm not going crazy TA, just want to show you the timeline. This is AGIX. I want to focus on AGIX because I think of AGIX, Fetch, and Ocean, AGIX is the one I think that brings the most value to this trio and will be the reason why I'm bullish on it going forward. But you guys can see here, which day was it? Was it March 28th that this was announced?
Around there, it was the March.
All right, so we, like Caleb says, there's a peak here. We have a big dip down. Now, we've been trickling back up, higher highs, higher lows. You love to see that part, but we're not necessarily back to those highs. Well, in the same breath, though, even though it wasn't a part of this deal, Render has similar-ish timelines. Now, it peaked back on March 17th, but around March 28th, it made one more good rally, fell back. It's back up to those levels, but you take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin was peaking around this time, has fallen back. Ethereum was peaking close to around that time, falling back. The market as a whole was doing that. So I like what Caleb's saying. I think the one argument I would make after looking at all those is AGIX is farther away from those highs than other projects, but the market as a whole, that's FET right there and that's Ocean right there, the market as a whole moved similarly. And to me, I think this is one, you can go off my screen here, T-Shroom, that I'm gonna look at this in a similar light for potential to something like Amazon. That might not make sense at first, but I'll explain why. Back in, I can't remember the exact year, but it's the late 90s, Amazon was down dramatically, 90+%. Everyone thought Amazon was out. There was even an interview done with Jeff Bezos pretty much saying, oh, what are your thoughts here? Your company's down 90%, 90% something. Are you ready to throw in the towel? And he gave this response that echoed something along the lines of, my company and my worth as a company is not dictated by the price of the stock. I know what I have here. He knew what he could produce, what his vision and dream was for the future, and that Amazon, let's not even talk about the price of Amazon, because anyone who invested in Amazon back then, which was really just him and his family members, is now multi-billionaires because of that investment. But let's not even talk about the price per stock or the market cap of Amazon. Let's just talk about companies in the world. Let's talk about what things do. Amazon is one of the number one functioning companies in the world, right? I'm of the belief system that when it comes to Amazon, the reason the stock is so valuable is because of the value of the company. At one point, the stock was horrible, but that didn't mean the company wasn't good. It just wasn't matching up. And I think that the potential of the great minds and teamwork between these three AI companies, they're getting three different initiative thoughts into one. They're not all going to be in the same room, but effectively they're going to be deciding together. I think there's a chance that ASI becomes something fundamentally very special, leading innovation. The CEO of AGIX, who's going to be the one who's leading ASI, his name is escaping me. What's it?
Ben?
The guy with the long Ben. Yeah, what's his last name? Ben.
I can't remember.
Man, it's like, it's on the tip of your tongue, but you can't say it. Anyway, we're talking about one of the in my personal opinion, brightest minds in the AI world. He's one of those. This is how you know he's so bright. And I mean, no offense to him whatsoever. Gertzel. Ben is extremely brilliant. He's a little weird. But if we're honest, aren't all of the most brilliant people in the world when it comes to these kinds of things some of the weirdest people? So no offense to Ben, it's what makes him special. You have to think differently. You have to be a little weird to think differently to create these new things. I think he's the right man. He's combining with two other respectable projects. I have faith in ASI in the same way that you should have had faith in Amazon. I think there's similar things to other projects in the crypto space. I'm not going to name them, but don't always just say because a price action isn't where it's supposed to be that all of a sudden the whole company is worthless. Sometimes there's things being built that in the long term, because of what it produces for the rest of the world, the value will come later.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're basically saying the market's wrong, right, Tim? I mean, that the market's wrong. It should be pumping here. I tend to.
No, I mean, I don't know if they've given us a reason to pump it just yet. But,
Gotcha.
What I'm saying is I think they will. I think they will give us a very good reason to pump it.
Yeah. What do you think, Caleb? Do you think the trio's kind of mounting for a huge run higher, or do you think that there's something sinister kind of swimming in the waters of why it didn't pump after the NVIDIA earnings?
No, there's nothing sinister about it. It's just the market is speaking, right? Gotcha. And so we can listen to the short-term signals because, look, think about it. Did you need to be a buyer of Amazon when it was down 90% in order to make money? The answer is no. You could have invested in Amazon last year, made a shit ton of money. Excuse my language. You could have invested in Amazon 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, made a lot of money, right? So you didn't need to buy it in 2003 when it was down 91%, right? So point being is we can wait for more constructive signs to step back into the market in order to re-enter trades, re-enter long, so on and so forth, and still have an extremely profitable trade, right? So I think that's important to note. We just need to see that those signs come back in. I've taken a lot of swings on FET and on Render, both, and I keep getting stopped out. And I guarantee you I'm going to take more positions in FET and Render over the course of the coming weeks. Like, it's a fact. I know that I will. And hopefully one of them sticks, right? Hopefully some of those actually, roll to the upside and we get that massive follow through on the back of strong kind of like AI related dynamics in the market. We just haven't had it yet. So, like I said, I'm going to keep swinging. I'm going to keep having at bats, and it's just a matter of, in my opinion, it's just a matter of time, right? Because we've had three narratives really take hold this market environment, in terms of kind of like, sectors or themes or whatever the case is, right? We've had AI, we've had memes, and now I think real world assets have really kind of come into the picture. I mean, look at the really strong outperformance from Link over the past several days. Shout out to username in the chat. But, I think those are really the three main themes, right? And so the small brain trend following approach to the market says continue to bet on those dynamics staying as leadership until proven otherwise. And I don't think they've been weaker than other segments of the market, right? Like they've held up way better than something like Algorand or Filecoin or Internet Compute, so on and so forth. Like AI is still really taken a strong hold in the crypto market. We need to see that transition from constructive to outright bullish. We don't have that yet.
Absolutely. I agree.
One thing I want to say here before we move forward, I think that Render is interesting. I think I did a TA on this a little bit ago, but take a look here at my screen, T-Shroom. We've seen NVIDIA. Caleb brought up NVIDIA. We want to talk about stocks a lot more going forward as well. But NVIDIA is kind of that perfect crossover between the stock and the crypto world. A lot of AI is going to be following that in the crypto world. Look at it. It's taken off here, right? It's going to the upside. And what I want to kind of bring to people's attention is Render. I don't know if they've officially said this, so I don't want to necessarily spread misinformation, but it very much comes across as if NVIDIA had to choose one altcoin that they really liked and they wanted to pump up, it would be Render. And what I've noticed, at least here more recently, let's go back to like January, NVIDIA here started to take off in January 4th, started to take off and move to a new explosive upside. And again, here more recently, we've set new highs and we're taking off again. When you come over and look at the Render chart, Render delayed this explosion. If you go back to January 4th, we actually continued to see some sideways action. It took a week or so, a couple weeks, and then we followed suit. Now that we've seen here over the last week, we've seen NVIDIA take off again, and we've seen Render trading sideways. Do we potentially have a launch pad coming soon for Render? And one of the reasons why is because just from a TA standpoint, we got a nice bull flag in play right here that maybe we see Render come up above $16. So can't guarantee this is definitely going to happen, but historically we've seen Render trail behind NVIDIA's success, and there's a very bullish formation on the charts right now. So keep an eye on Render if you're looking at another good investment. We're sitting on some support right now. Can we get a spring? We'll have to wait and see.
Yep. Kyle Field said, anyone companies like NVIDIA making equipment, chips for mining and crypto transactions process will do well. Yeah, absolutely. And then BitTensor, Lando just said BitTensor. I do think that that's kind of the way to think about it. It's a part of the conversation for sure. And it's kind of absorbing some liquidity that maybe otherwise would have gone into these ASI coins or Render as well. But you spoke of that partnership. This is something that Render published. Render Networks is integrated into the NVIDIA Omniverse. The VP of NVIDIA Omniverse is an advisor to RNDR Render. How official that advisorship is, I'm not exactly sure, but we definitely have heard Render kind of in association with NVIDIA. The more solidification that can be in that relationship, that partnership, it's going to be good for Render price to the upside for sure. So be monitoring that. What's up, Caleb?
I want to mention something about this. I love doing this kind of relative ratio analysis. So let me kind of break this down a little bit. Excuse me, hold on one second. In blue here, I'm looking at the relative performance of Fetch AI, so FET versus Render. Okay, so when this blue line is going up, that means Fetch is outperforming Render. When it's going down, that means Render is outperforming Fetch. Okay, very simple. What I want to do is overlay total 3, right? So basically altcoin market cap. If we overlay that onto the chart, what do you see? When the bull market started in October of last year for altcoins, for broader crypto market dynamics, my belief is that the bull market really started in Q4 of last year. What have we seen? We've seen total 3 rise, obviously, no shit. But during that period, there's a pretty good correlation that FET outperforms Render when total 3 is rising. When did they peak? On the exact same day. And when total 3 peaked and has since fallen lower, what have we seen? We've seen Render outperform FET. That's when the blue line is falling. Render is outperforming FET when the blue line falls. So I want to be very careful about, I don't want to be careful. I want to be very clear is that if you believe fundamentally that we are going to continue to be in a bull market, you should have no interest in buying Render and you should only be focused on buying FET.
Interesting.
Right? Interesting. And look, this is something that I was also saying about Ocean last year. Because hold on, what's happening here? Okay, yeah, this is fine. Perfect. Wow, look, I even have it almost the exact same way. So I'm not excluding USDT here. And let's actually get this in log scale. And we're going to see them even closer. Right? So I noticed this in the first half of last year that FET was outperforming Ocean during a period where total 3 was rising. And when total 3 peaked and started to fall, Fetch outperformed Ocean. The blue line was falling. And when the bull market again started in the second half of last year, particularly in the fourth quarter, FET was outperforming Ocean significantly, right? And so now I think, look, now they've really been moving in lockstep, right? Because of this whole merger type dynamic. But again, if this correlation is true, hint, hint, it is. And if you believe that that correlation is going to continue to exist, then I think most likely you should be much more interested in buying FET than you are Render.
That's interesting.
That's really
now. How much of that, Caleb? I'm out of curiosity. How much of that has to do with the fact that Render has a little bit more than double the market cap of FET? What is that chart communicating? Is it communicating market cap? Is it communicating, like, if you were to say how many FET coins you need to equal one Render coin? Like, what is the ratio going on in that chart?
Yeah, so the ratio is just the price, right? Okay. So what? Fetch is trading somewhere in the 2s. Render's trading just shy of 10 or right around there, right? So we're looking at a relative chart there of the price itself. So we're not looking at market cap. We could look at that chart as well. I guarantee you it'll show basically the exact same thing. And so again, I think that this is important, right? Because if you believe fundamentally that we're going to continue to be in a bull market where total 3 is going to rise over the next 3, 6, 12 months, whatever the number is, then you need to look at this chart and say, okay, if we're in a bull market and I want to get the most out of that bull market, of course, render is going to go up if total 3 is going up, but wouldn't you want to have the fastest horse in the race? And the data shows us that since October, since the bull market started in 2023 of last year, of course, that fetch has been the fastest horse versus render, right? So if you want to bet on the fastest horse, you first have to identify who's the fastest horse. So far, it's been fetch.
I wonder how the dynamics are going to change though now that they're bringing in AGIX and Ocean into. Do you think that FET just becomes stronger? Because I mean, now it's all going to trade under ASI, right? Eventually, after probably I think it's June 13th that this transition happens and people can trade it. Like, how do you think that that's going to play out? I mean, and I don't necessarily expect you to have the answer to that, but what's your kind of speculation?
I don't have an answer to that right off the top of my head, but I mean, let's take a look, right? Let's just go ahead and do the analysis live. Let's look at AGIX and let's do relative to render. Okay. So much less conclusive, right? If we add total 3 onto this now, new price scale, boom. So, not necessarily showing what we were just looking at with fetch versus render, right? So AGIX relative to render was going down when total 3 really started to pick up steam, right? They both peaked right around the same period. So it played a lot of catch up starting in February where AGIX was really outperforming render. And literally on that news of the announcement of the merging of these 3 protocols, basically everything peaked, right? And so right around that time now, we've seen render outperform AGIX. And so, maybe like you're saying, now that, FET's influence is going to be diluted by something like AGIX, by something like Ocean, is that relative outperformance versus render still going to continue? Yeah. You can make the case that maybe not as much anymore with ASI coming into the picture, right? So, there are these fundamental catalysts that can now change correlations, right? So it's going to be very interesting. I think it was June 18th or 13th, somewhere around there is when you can officially do the redemption. It's going to be really interesting to see how does the correlation evolve, right? This is what's going to be really important for us to keep a pulse on if this is a long-lasting theme that we still want to try to take advantage of in this market.
Yeah, we have a question in chat I want to address here in just a second. Before we go there, this is where I'm just interested what you think about this argument I'm about to make here, Caleb. So let's talk about fetch right here. Go to my screen, T-shirt. We're looking at market cap right here. This is why I'm asking this because, of course, tokenomics play a large role in what the price per coin is going to be. But if we're just talking about how much money was invested, if you go back to October, September area when this real explosive bullish momentum started, we went from $178 million in market cap. We peaked up here actually closer to 2.7. Currently, we're trading again 1.8. That's FET, right? So we went from 187 million to over $1 billion. We pushed over 2 billion. Now we're right down below it. But you come over and you look at render, and of course, again, you cannot argue with the details Caleb's saying here. When you look at price action, the price per coin is a different thing altogether than market cap. But I just wanted to look at this and see your thoughts here, because if you go back to September of 2023, that's way back here. Yeah, boom. We had $435 million market cap in render, peaked out at $5 billion, right? So we're talking about $4.5 billion came into render versus only $2 billion came into FET. So my question here, and we might not actually be able to answer this. What I actually need to do to think about this is, what were the tokenomics between September of 2023 to right now for both these projects? And then the question is, what are the tokenomics going forward? Because, for example, let's say there was a massive unlock on render and there wasn't a massive unlock on FET. Well, all of a sudden, even though render got more gains in market cap, because they had to deal with an astronomical amount of new supply, that really suppresses the price action of the coin going up. But let's say over from now until September of 2025, it's actually FET that has the massive unlocks and the uploading of supply. In that case, would that not be a reason to still be more bullish on render? Again, this is all kind of, I'm getting into weeds. I told you guys I wanted to get out of the weeds, and here we are with Caleb. I'm in the weeds again.
We are deep in the weeds.
This is a great conversation. Yeah. But what I'm saying, does that make sense?
I think part of the reason why render went up so much, based on the very simple research that I did several months ago on this, is that if you look at where, Fetch's circulating supply is relative to the maximum supply, they were much further along than render. So render had a much longer kind of on-ramp, meaning that they were going to be more aggressive in terms of new supply coming onto the market. I have no idea about unlocks, so on and so forth, but I do know that they had a much longer runway, or not longer runway, but a bigger runway for much more supply to come onto the market than Fetch, right? And so some people have kind of highlighted that to me in the past, saying, hey, Fetch could continue to outperform render simply because of the tokenomics within this broader AI theme, because more of the supply has already been issued, right? And I think that's a valid point to bring up.
Yeah, let me see. Right now, let's just even look at this. Render is currently sitting 72% in circulation. Let's go look at FET real quick. And then there was a chat. I don't want to answer the question. There's a good question in chat, but I think this is a good topic. Let's just talk here. Yeah, so FET is only at 24% of the circulating supply.
Oh, maybe I had it mixed up. Sorry.
Yeah. So that, again, here's the other thing is, if FET has some grand plan that let's say their inflation's only 5% and renders is 7%, well, all of a sudden, there's a chance that FET could continue to catch up. So that's why I think we need to look more into this. This I don't think we're going to be able to give you guys answers on this. This is actually more, I think it's a great conversation because it intrigues you guys to start asking the right questions. It's going to make the three of us kind of go in and look at this stuff, and we'll have better answers for you next time. But
the reality is that this is kind of a cutting edge conversation. Joseph Laposa is really into it. LOL, this is kind of the stuff I need to know. The reality is we're in crypto. We're not in the stock market. In the stock market, there's merger and acquisition seasons where there's constant mergers and acquisitions. I think it was ConocoPhillips announced that they're going to be buying up Marathon. We reported on that this morning. It's extremely routine on the stock side. Will we continue to see a pickup in more and more M&A on the crypto side? It'll be really interesting. It requires governance voting. It requires a different dynamic. But these are the conversations that are having. This is why it's cutting edge, is because there's not really a cut and dry way to calculate this in the same way, that Harvard would teach their finance students how to calculate, a simple M&A event. So it's really interesting. I love being a part of this. It's super cool. But Kyle Fields also agrees. Speed of issuance will be a factor. Yeah. Man, we're moving into a fun new world. I say we have kind of a meme headline, and then I want to get in, but I want to get into the factoid first. But Tim, what's up?
Let me answer a question. So Senza asks a good question up here, and I'm hoping this is a genuine question, not maybe like a spiteful question. Senza says, so what happened where the narrative changed from waiting on the bull market to all of a sudden it started nearly a year ago? Good question. Let's go to my chart real quick, and I'm going to be brief here, but explain this. Let's just even look at the history. This is the bull market of 2020, 2021, all right? So you see some phases here. These vertical lines are halving events, but when would we say the bull market started, right? Even though technically we wouldn't have known it was the bull market, the lowest low was all the way back in December of 2018. So technically speaking, December of 2018, January of 2019 was the beginning of the bull market. Did we know that was the case? No, but we would never see price go lower than that. It didn't mean there wasn't volatility. It didn't mean we didn't have one nice explosive run and then maybe some boring sideways, in this case, downward action for well over a year. I mean, we hit a high in June of 2019, would not match that high or pass it all the way until November of 2020. So an entire year passed before we could get back to that price action. I'm not making that prediction that's going to happen again. But my point is when we say the bull market has started before, but you need to there's still some things you can wait on for more explosiveness, you're never going to be able to buy back here at 15,500. That's when the bull market started. It would have been cool if you bought back then, but you can't live in the past. It would have been cool if you could have bought back here at 25,000. But the truth is, that's not going to happen. We've had a good leg here. We've had a good first leg. But we're talking about when we say, all right, wait for the bull market to get crazy. We're not saying wait to buy. We've been telling you, I know at least here in the BROZ channel, and I know Caleb, because I've been listening to him, we've been talking about buying Bitcoin very, very dramatically, saying we're not going to see new lows all the way since back here, back around the mid-20s, right? What we're saying, though, is take a look at how this cycle moved. Yes, we have an explosive move to the upside and the sideways, but look at how parabolic Bitcoin price action got once we crossed over here in October of 2020. You come back over here, we come out of the bottom of the bear market in 2015. We're moving upwards and to the right, but you don't really get the explosive vertical price action until March of 2017, where you have this just parabolic bull market moves. And this happens with all the coins. What we're kind of saying right now is, guys, the bull market has started. It's been in. Be buying Bitcoin. But don't get your panties in a wad if Bitcoin's not going up 30% every single day, because the time for the parabolic move hasn't hit yet. It's probably coming later this summer. Get ready for, when I say fireworks, I don't mean the poopy little fireworks you buy down at the outside of Home Depot. I'm talking about the ones that are probably military grade. You're not even allowed to purchase them. They're going to take off this fall, and Bitcoin is going to look like the price action is almost a vertical line. Right? We've been moving upwards. We're moving sideways here, but it's going to almost look vertical. And that's what we're telling you guys. Wait for that happens. When the most explosive part of the bull market happens, that's still ahead of us. It doesn't mean the bull market hasn't started. It's underfoot. Just the best leg of it hasn't taken place yet.
Yeah, excellent. And stock to flow model also comes to mind. It's a flawed model. It absolutely is a flawed model, but we're just now getting into the red zone. And the red zone, as you can see, is where you really start to ramp up and ultimately get into this yellow zone, which is the peak, right? And you stay tuned to channels like this, Investing Bros. You subscribe to Caleb's newsletter. You're going to be able to not only know some of the best coins to buy and get educated on some great assets to invest in or trade in, but you're also going to get a good idea of when the top is, right? That's going to be just as important as what to buy and when to accumulate at low levels is when is that top going to be. And I will tell you, we're not even close to it. I was actually checking this morning. Coinbase, the app is still, I think it's 117 ranked on the App Store for Apple. Now that is up from like 250 last month. So it's moving, but it's not even in the top 10 yet. So that is one of the bigger topping indicators I like, which is Coinbase app getting up in the rankings of the Apple App Store. All right, we are going to go ahead and jump on into the factoid of the day, Tim. And this factoid is brought to you all by, again, the illustrious Arculus cold wallet. If you're looking for a cold wallet, stop, because you found it. It's right here. Go down to the link in the description of this video, and you'll be very glad you got your crypto.
Make sure use BROZ10. If you want 10% off, there's going to be a code.
Absolutely.
Once you get in there, you purchase it. Type in BROZ10. And I was talking about this earlier in Discord. There's a couple people on Discord that didn't have this. I want to stress to you guys, again, not only is Arculus a sponsor and a partner of the channel, it keeps the lights on here, keeps us coming back to you guys each and every single day. It is really a lifesaver. I hope none of you have these stories, but I know too many stories of people who invested at the right time. They bought the bottoms. They were making millions of dollars. And even in a bull market, something weird glitched on a centralized exchange. Their money got locked. Their account got hacked. Their accounts get drained. It doesn't matter if you're perfect at buying bottoms and selling tops. If you don't have security over your crypto, you could lose it all, and it's good for nothing. That's why you have to have a cold wallet that you have the keys. No one else can get in and steal your crypto. That's what Arculus does. So if you're sitting here right now saying, I don't need a cold wallet, I'll be okay, Coinbase is trustworthy. I'm not trying to FUD Coinbase. I'm just telling you there are horror stories that say differently. I urge you guys, not even just to support our channel. That's one of the perks of it. I'm urging you for yourself, for your own peace at night, to know that your wealth will not be stolen from you. Have a cold wallet. And that's why we partner with them. And we're giving you a discount, 10% off when you use BROZ10. Secure your crypto wealth. Don't risk it by leaving it on centralized exchanges.
Absolutely. Well, Tim, that was a lot of fun. Let's see if we can keep the fun rolling here. American restaurant Red Lobster has what kind of sophisticated agreement with its current emergency bankruptcy lenders? Is it A, a bleeding ear offer, B, a stalking horse offer, C, a flip train offer, or D, the endless shrimp offer? That got it into it.
I wish it was endless shrimp offer. That'd be phenomenal. The biscuits weren't bad either. Have you guys ever had Red Lobster biscuits? I mean, you're never going to have them again because they're out of, they're bankrupt now. But did you ever have them while they were open?
Oh, yeah.
I've never been to Red Lobster before.
Really?
So, yeah, wow. I definitely haven't had the biscuits.
Did you have the opportunity to go to a Red Lobster and you just didn't go? Or have you never been in a city where they had them?
I can't remember if we had one in Santa Barbara, but
okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
No more delaying. I know you guys are just trying to psyop me.
I don't know. I honestly, I don't know what any of these offers are. So this is literally a eeny, meeny, miny, mo answer for me.
What you're saying is you're not sophisticated in the realm of emergency bankruptcy lending types?
Not at all.
Okay. I'm going to go with a bleeding ear offer. I'm going A.
Okay.
Bleeding ear. That sounds legitimate. I don't know what the other ones are. I was looking at flipped train offer. I don't know what it means. But it seems good. Let's just split. One of us needs to win. So our probabilities of winning are good if we go different directions. I'm going to go C. You go A. We know it's not D, so watch it be B. That's just how I'm going to factor this one.
It's a stalking horse offer. So on May 20th, 2024, Red Lobster filed for Chapter 11, protection after securing over $1 million in financing commitments from its lenders. The company has also entered a stalking horse agreement to sell itself and have its lenders manage it. A stalking horse agreement, T-Shroom, what the heck is that? It's an offer or agreement or bid for a bankrupt firm or its assets, and it's arranged in advance of an auction to act in effect as a reserve bid. The intent is to maximize the value of its assets or avoid low bids as part of or before a court auction. In any case, you can't have endless shrimp in America. We're just too hungry.
Dude. How do I 90% of the time I get these questions wrong. I'm terrible at these games. I'm so bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I think this is 3 in a row for me. I think I'm in a three in a row loss streak. There was times where I've gone on winning streaks that are pretty good, but the elves got my number.
Yeah. The real winners have been those who've been getting those amazing endless shrimp deals and putting Red Lobster out of business. So.
When we were in Charleston, we went to a seafood restaurant, and it wasn't endless shrimp, but I got calamari and shrimp. There's a lot of good seafood, but I think my favorite seafood, sushi's good too, but calamari and shrimp, you just can't go wrong. You get some good cocktail sauce.
Yep,
that's the way to live life.
It is.
All right. Well, let's do this, guys. It is 4:08. Moving forward, I did tell T-Shroom we have an announcement coming up. I know Crux kind of flirted with it. We're going to give details in the next week or so about some upgrades coming to membership. So if you are become a member, you're going to get to spend a lot more time. You're going to get a lot more access to some stuff. We will be changing some of our content to make sure it's continue to bring the top-notch information you guys need to continue to interact with you guys and communicate and educate with the newer investors. But again, look for us to be doing a lot of cool things going forward. If you want to be a part of it, ask us how. Go join our free Discord. We are always in there communicating details and updates with you guys. If you want to join our YouTube membership, you can do that as well. There's a lot of different ways you can support the bros. Make sure that you guys also, it's going to be in the description, go follow Caleb on Twitter. That's a free place. Caleb at Caleb Franzen, very nice and simple. Go follow him. Also, he has a newsletter. He has some free versions of a newsletter. He has paid versions of newsletter. He has a Patreon where he gives some of the top-notch information that he's watching. Go check him out. You will not regret it. With that said, we're going to wrap up today's show. No Q&A today. We will do some Q&A probably tomorrow. But we'll be doing a lot of Q&A with our members moving forward. We're going to have some cool things. And speaking of those members, right after this stream, all of our silver members and up, if you're in the Discord, if you've connected over there, we're going live for a members only stream here in literally 5 to 10 minutes. So with that said, Caleb, thank you for joining us again. It was an amazing day. I always love Caleb Franz on Wednesdays. T-Shroom, we're going to wrap it up here. Guys, we love you. See you in the memberships. The rest of you will see you tomorrow. Adios.
Adios.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor, the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.